Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to September 15th. Let's go ahead and get started. So yesterday, we introduced a new word, mercantilism, and we talked about how this cycle of trade was a way for the king to control the colonies. So we're going to start with a quick write. We want you in your own words to explain the purpose of mercantilism, trying and using these main words that are in red, okay? We're going to be doing this in Whiteboard Fee, and you have this diagram to help you out. All right, so let's continue with today's lesson. We will trace the expansion of the slavery to the agrarian economy in the South. Why is this important? The Southern plantation owners needed laborers to work in the fields. And finally, you will analyze a map of harbors and ports and identify where large amounts of Africans were imported. Guys, slavery, we know, is a very terrible part of our history. It's like a stain on our past. And we know how serious the implications of slavery were. And so as we learn about this, I want you to remember that what happened to these people wasn't fair, but that we're all one nation together today, and I care about all of you. So let's go ahead and remember that these 13 colonies were English colonies controlled by King George III. All right. Now, yesterday we talked about mercantilism, and that was just trade between England and the New World. But now what we're going to see is the expansion of the expansion of trade to a third continent, okay? And you can see here that the next continent is going to be Africa. So we're going to go from the New World back to Europe, where England is, to Africa and back again, okay? This is the diagram for the 18th century transatlantic, also known as triangular trade. So what you're going to do next, ladies and gentlemen, in your notebook, okay, you're going to be completing a quick activity on page 13. You're going to be reading a section of text and answering 2 questions. And let's go ahead and share out. All right. So, yes, the transatlantic slave trade, which region, remember New England, Mid-Atlantic, Southern, which region is going to be connected to the slave trade? I hope you came up with the South, because they are the ones with the plantations and the need for laborers. So the second part of our lesson today is about a place where we call a harbor or port. A harbor or port is a place where ships load and unload. It's kind of like a market. And in your notebook on page 14, you're going to type this definition into number 1, okay? So here we are on page 14, the ports and harbors in English colonies. You're going to type that definition into number 1, a place where ships load and unload. You can see a picture of a harbor here. This is a modern day one, so there's lots of machinery. But the original New World harbors were a lot more basic. So you can see here the 1790 port cities of Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, and Charleston, all of which they are listing some of these raw materials that are being sent out. Now let's look at the populations of these harbors, cities. You can see that these bigger dots are going to be along the coast with these markets. And that is the question for number 2, okay? So let's go back to your notebook. Number 2 says, the population around harbors and ports grew into big cities that are still largely populated today. Why do you think people moved into areas around harbors and ports? You're going to be answering that independently. And number 3 is not written here. We do have the question number 3 in our presentation here. You do not need to copy the question, but we do want you to answer it as number 3. In which of the following ports on your map do you believe a large amount of slaves were imported? Explain your answer. Once you're done with this independent work, that is it for the day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.